If you want to file a Georgia offer in compromise and you've already got the financial forms filled out, you may be asking, what other information is needed before I know if I qualify for an offer in compromise? Hi, I'm Jeff Fouts, a tax attorney located in Metro Atlanta with a statewide and nationwide law practice helping clients who have serious Georgia tax problems. So, in addition to your financial forms, what other information is needed before you qualify for an offer in compromise? In addition to the financial information you'll need to provide in order to analyze your case, there are other things you may have to do and other pieces of information you may have to get together in order to know what solutions you have to solve your tax problem. These other items include your tax return information, your tax debt information, which unfiled tax returns you need to file, whether to cause the liability to be a joint tax liability or not, and your wage withholdings or estimated tax payment information. I'll first discuss tax return filing. If you owe back taxes, you must make sure you have prepared and filed any unfiled tax returns that are required to be filed. It is important to realize that despite what some people may tell you, including accountants, it is often not necessary for you to file all of your unfiled tax returns. A determination must be made as to which unfiled tax returns need to be filed. If you file unfiled tax returns that aren't required to be filed, you may be needlessly increasing your tax debt, and you don't want to do that. I have seen folks do this many times, and it is heartbreaking. Another critical factor to consider, if you are married, is whether to file a required unfiled tax return as joint or not. Sometimes it makes sense to file a tax return which has a tax liability as joint with both spouses, since it can lower the tax liability. But most of the time, it doesn't make sense to do that. One spouse can sometimes escape with little or no tax liability if the tax returns are filed married filing separately. While this can cause the tax liability to be somewhat greater than if you had filed jointly, which is something you can't ignore, nevertheless, most spouses usually want to be kept out of the tax debt as much as possible. The spouse that would be free of any or most of the tax debt usually considers the small increase in tax debt to be worth it. Choosing the filing status of married filing separately may help serve that purpose. There are two reasons your required tax returns must be filed. I just discussed the first reason, which is that you have a requirement that you must fulfill your tax return filing requirements. The second reason is that if you have unfiled tax returns, filing the required ones is the only way you can know what your total tax debt is going to be, including the tax, the interest, and penalties. It's important that you know that number, what the total tax liability is, before you start deciding which option to pick. So if you know the exact amount of your tax debt, it helps us to analyze whether your best option is to file an offer in compromise or whether it makes more sense to pursue a different option. Before Georgia or the IRS will allow you to proceed with a tax solution, including the filing of an offer application, they must know that you have fixed it so that you won't owe tax debt the next time tax filing season comes around. What does that look like? Well, if you are a W-2 wage earner, we must determine whether or not you're paying in enough income tax through your withholdings by looking at how much tax you're having withheld from your check each pay period. If you are self-employed or a W-2 wage earner who has self-employed income on the side in addition to your W-2 wages, we also have to look at whether or not you are making estimated tax payments. These estimated tax payments must be made quarterly. If you are making estimated tax payments on a regular basis, we need to review your situation to make sure that the payments you're making are the proper amount. Neither Georgia or the IRS want to enter into a solution with you to deal with your tax problem if you're only again going to owe back taxes the next filing season. They don't like that at all. Another requirement that must be fulfilled before Georgia will process your offer request is that you must have received a final notice of assessment for all tax years which you owe. The reason for this is that in order for Georgia to consider reducing a tax liability, you must first have a tax liability. And until the final notice of assessment has been issued, you don't yet owe that tax debt. So that document must come first. As you can see, dealing with your tax problem, and I mean really dealing with it, is not as simple as filling out a few forms. It's more like a process. Some steps of the process are more complicated than others, yes, but all of them must be followed in order to reach the best possible conclusion for your case. I hope this important video tip has helped you understand the Georgia Department of Revenue a little bit and about how tax problems are solved. Chances are you have questions or concerns about your own particular tax problem. What I encourage you to do is pick up the phone and call me. I can answer your questions. Over the past 20 years, I've represented clients all across Georgia and in 50 states and 29 foreign countries, and I welcome your call. You can reach me at 800-509-2770 or by email at jfouts@taxhelpattorney.com. I'm Jeff Fouts, and thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.